Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's good, yeah? So, on this video, guys, I want to give you an insight on why you are afraid or why you may be afraid to journal about your life or to journal in general. So, let's get it. So, now, during the ancient times, right? Like people, they worshipped the word, right? Before we can worship pastors or gods, right? We people were worshipping the word. You understand? If you like, think about it this way. Right now, right, everybody is having the idea that they are worshipping themselves, right? Because they think that being an individual, like these are the times, right? This is the age where people are gonna be looking more into their individuality, right? And as well as other individuals, right? So now it's either you're gonna be looking up to other people, right, for you to find your individuality, or other people are gonna be looking towards you to find their individuality, right? So now, right now, right, we have people believing in other people, right, in the name of God. So you believe in your pastor to help you to access your God, right, or God or source. So now, back then, right, it was about the word. Anybody who has the word, right, anybody who has a word or who has the word, any kind of word, right, about the other side, there would two things would happen to those kind of people. It's either they kill you, chop your head off, or you become revered, right? You become like Jesus. People follow you, right? They want to know how you got that word. So, and think about it this way. A lot of people, right, back then, they used to fight over scriptures, like writings, and they used to rely upon those things, right, as a form of validation, right, or a form of signature to say, okay, this is coming from a powerful person, a significant person, right? A powerful person, right? So people who were allowed to send letters or to write down anything in general were the people who were requested by kings, right? And the courtships, or the kings and the courtships themselves, those are the people who were allowed to write down anything, to send letters, to script down any form of information or word, right? So now, back then, when you write down anything, right, and they find you, they was gonna chop your head off because it was not allowed for people to learn about the word, or the words in general. So if they knew that, okay, this person knows the word, they can even write it down, then they will either ban your things that you've written down, or they will chop your head off and use that information, right, as a form of doctrine to say, okay, if a person behaves like this, or if a person comes with a certain kind of word, chop their head off or take it from them, So this thing is within our DNA, it's within us. It's an innate fear, That's why people don't like to write down anything about their life, because they feel like other people are gonna look into it, right? And it's gonna cause all kinds of complications. But if you can think about it, if somebody comes and reads the things that you wrote down, right, they are just that's just them adding more complexity into their lives, right? So it's not like 9 times out of 10, that thing never happens. It happens in certain areas, within certain families, or certain kinds of friendships, But in general, it never happens. So the reason you may be afraid to journal about your life or to write down about your life, and considering that you don't know why, then the reason may be because you have an innate fear, right, that comes from way back then when you were still an ancestor, right? In the BC and ADs, when you were incarnated here, during those times you were here. So it's not everybody who's gonna have this kind of fear, because some of you are new spirits, you are the kind of spirits that just came to existence now. So you don't have experience pretty much, you know. So those who have acquired experience, like aka those who were here before, and how to identify that is by what? By looking at if you find journaling easy or hard. If it's hard for you to journal, then you are those kind of people who had the fear of the word, you know. So now, when you reincarnate again, and then maybe you come across videos that are talking about journaling, or you have friends that journal but you can't, it's because of there is something blocking you from doing that, and it's what? That fear. And since now it's not within the current lifetime records, then you will have to go back and back and back for you to even understand what spawned that fear within you. You know, because if it wasn't within you, then you would have never picked it up in this incarnation. You would just waft through freely, and you would start in other things, right? And not that, you know. So this is why you are afraid of the word. It's because of what? You were once chopped up into a fucking headless meat, right? Or you were tortured for that, right? For the word once or a lot of times in one of your lifetimes, you know. So think about it. Episode in the building. Mind.